Welcome to the 2022 Women United Grants Finalist presentation. My name is Libby Edwards-Albaugh, and I'm the chair of this year's steering committee. And right here with me is my partner in crime and my vice chair, Anna Pachias, and your incoming 2023 steering committee chair. Okay. So, we would like to thank all of our members for the continued support for this organization. But we would like to give a special thanks to our steering committee members for their tireless service with this organization, because they donate a lot of time to making everything run as smoothly as it does. So I do want to recognize my steering committee members, and if you could stand up when I call your name. Okay. So first of all, where's Joan? Joan is our events, and this, Joan is outside. She is in charge, and Joan is in charge of our events committee, our events and programming committee. Then we have Karen and Kirsten, who are grants committee chair and vice chair this year. Mary Beth just walked in. She is our communications chair, and those text messages this year have been very timely. Thank you, Mary Beth. Elaine is our membership chair, and she's probably still out at the membership table. And then Deborah Conway, Kendra Stribling, and Connie are our at-large members. We also want to thank our United Way folks that help us out so much. And we have Marky and Caroline back there, who are our liaisons. And I don't see Robbie here, but we want to thank Robbie as well for all the great work that they do and the support that they give us as an organization.
Oh, it's my turn.
It's your turn.
I also want to recognize that there are several new members here today, and they literally just joined, and this is their first event, so let's give them a hand. I'm not going to call anyone out by name. The other thing I want to say is Women United has been in my life for almost a decade, and I've circled in and out of steering committee service as my life has changed, and we are all in and out of various volunteer gigs. And this is an urgent plea to those of you in the audience and to people you know and your friends to join us on committees. Come and bring your talents and your ideas. We're always looking for new energy, creativity, and it's a wonderful bonding experience, and you're really doing a lot of good in our community. So I'm gonna stick around after the event. Please come see me. Let's have a cup of coffee. I'll take you to coffee and I'll tell you what it's like to be on a committee. You are serving with other women, and it's a heavy lift together. And this organization would not exist without volunteerism. It's the core of what we do. Not only are we magnifying our impact with our dollars with collective giving, but through volunteerism. So please join some committees and come and talk to me about it afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll get back on script before we get in trouble here. Because look, we're getting the look here. Okay. We're very happy to be in person this year, yes we are, to celebrate our finalists who have gone through a rigorous process to be considered for our two $20,000 grants. Women United members will have the opportunity to learn about these 5 amazing finalist organizations who will talk about the ways in which a 2022 grant award would allow each of them to magnify their impact. As of October 2022, Women United has awarded over $680,000 in grants to local nonprofits serving women and children in our area, thanks to the combined generosity of our underwriters, corporate, and individual members. Our 2022 underwriters are Carter Myers Automotive, Hansman and Weeble, Homestead Senior Care, and the Tax Ladies. Our corporate members are Arkwise Wealth, Bassett Home Service, Bost Benefits Charlottesville Office, The Closet Factory, Fox Chase Design, Jones & Company CPA, Lewis Law Office, M.H. Swanson and Petrichor Wealth, Pepsi Cola Bottling Company of Central Virginia, Real Estate 3 Commercial Properties, Rosewood Village, S.L. Williamson Company, Storyhouse Real Estate, and Wilkinson Wealth Management. We're also happy to have so many of our members present tonight so that we'll all have the privilege of voting for our 2022 grant winners. And we extend a warm welcome to all the representatives from our fabulous organizations who are with us in the audience. We look forward to hearing how these amazing organizations work to better the lives of children and women in this community. And now I turn it over to Karen Poos, our grants chair. Thank you.
Good evening. A big thank you to both Libby and Anna for giving us a great opening. It's an honor for me to be here tonight, and I am so excited to be able to do this in person. I think we all agree that Zoom meetings in the last 2 years, we just want to forget. So I'm really looking forward to a great evening here tonight. The first thing that I'd like to do is introduce all of our finalists and introduce you to the people that came from their organizations tonight. So as I call out your name, if you can just stand. So our first finalist is the City of Promise, and we have tonight Mary Coleman, who is the Executive Director for City of Promise. And she also has, I believe, Tiffany Morris and Dawn Lawson. Dawn's still at work. Oh, okay, Dawn's still at work. Okay, so welcome to City of Promise. Next, I'm excited to welcome Eddie and Jenny Brown, who are the founders of Giving Words. Our third finalist tonight is Her Sports, and we have with us Jessica Carter, who is the founder and executive director, and she's accompanied tonight by several people. I'm going to read all the names of people that could come. I know a couple of them at the last minute could not make it, but I want to give credit to everybody. So Raquel Allen, Zanaya and Zanaya Bryant, Bridget Cindy and Riley Janakis, Carolyn Schuler, and Kim and Lakia Thompson. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our fourth finalist is Reclaimed Hope Initiative, and I'm excited to welcome Bettina Stevens, who is the Executive Director and founder of Reclaimed Hope Initiative. And joining Bettina tonight is Marnie Allen, Stephanie McNerney, Carrie Heilman, Ben Allen, and Christine Flavin. So welcome. And our fifth finalist is the Shelter for Help in Emergency. Many of you probably know this organization by the name of SHE. And I would like to welcome Sarah Ellis, who is the Fundraising and Development Coordinator tonight. Thank you. I know that everybody here is eager to hear all their presentations, but I have to do a little bit of background information for the group at large, so bear with me. The grants process actually started back in January with 24 organizations being nominated by our Women United members. What I do next is I reach out to each of those organizations, tell them a little bit about Women United, because sometimes they don't even know who we are, and tell them about our grant process. From that 24 organizations, 19 elected to submit a proposal for the 2022 grant cycle. This year, the Grants Committee was a group of 16 very hardworking women. We got together in March for a 3-hour meeting to discuss and analyze all 19 of the proposals. We then voted to have 11 organizations proceed to the next step, which is a site visit. Site visits are a lot of fun, as it gives us really an opportunity to sit down with the organizations and really learn what they're all about, and to ask questions, and for them to ask questions of us. So then we reconvened back in April to discuss all of our site visits, and that is when we voted on the 5 finalists that are here with us tonight. We will be awarding two 20,000 grants this year for 2022. Unfortunately, there was little demand this year for a $5,000 grant, and there were no organizations that actually made it to our 5K finalists. The $5,000 that we did have for 2022, we have pushed into the 2023 pool for funding for next year. But we recognize we have a little bit of an issue that we need to address. So members of the grants committee are going to get together early this fall and take a look at, discuss ways to better identify smaller organizations in our community that could benefit from a smaller grant. And then we will bring that information back to the Women United members to share that before we start our next grant cycle. I want to personally thank all the members of the Grants Committee. It's been a very rewarding, but also a tough job. And I really appreciate their dedication and their confidentiality as we went through the process. Also, a very big special thank you to Kristen Breen, who was my vice chair this year, for all her hard work and effort in answering my emails and text messages, whether they came morning, noon, or night. We were in constant communication, and I know the committee will be in great hands next year for 2023. So let's get tonight rolling. Each organization was asked to do a presentation that was 5 to 7 minutes long, and then we will have a 3-minute question-answer period after the presentations are made. Because we're a fairly large group here tonight, and because we are videotaping this, we want to make sure we do hear the questions, so I will actually repeat the question for our finalists so they can then answer. But I do ask, please keep your questions kind of small and easy so I don't have to think about what you've said. My brain is a little fried after the last couple of days. So first person up is Mary Coleman, who is Executive Director of City of Promise.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge that Dawn is here. Were you here earlier when okay, thank you for coming after work. Seriously, I appreciate it. I want to thank Women United for all the generosity that makes this grant possible. And I want to acknowledge that I have friends up here representing these other organizations. I work with you, I worship with you. I appreciate all that you're doing. And so I wish you all the best of luck. Seriously, I really do. Okay, so City of Promise, our mission is to end generational poverty and to foster a culture of achievement so that all children in our community graduate from high school ready for college and career. And we're here to address a problem, and that problem is generational poverty in Charlottesville, right? This place that's surrounded by wineries and beautiful restaurants has a problem. 1,900 families don't make enough money to care for their basic needs. And if all of them have 2 children, that's at least 4,000 kids, right, that are under this predicament where their parents are struggling to make ends meet. The other problem we're trying to address is the achievement gap. And if you just look at the reading column, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, you can see that all children are struggling now. But before that, the gap is significant, and we need organizations to address this in this great city in the shadow of one of the top universities in the country. Next slide. So our answer is Dream Builders. We co-created this program with members of our community, parents and caregivers. It's a 16-week program. 10 households are eligible per semester, and each household is granted $1,500 to use toward a self-sufficiency goal of their choosing. We pay their bills or whatever it is they decide to do, but they get to decide how that money is spent. This young woman here decided to move out of public housing, and she used the funds to pay her down payment in Louisa. And so she's more self-sufficient now than she was before, and we're proud to have been a part of her success. Next slide. What is required, or what are the benefits? Well, they get Dawn to do their individual coaching once a week. They do Parent Time, which is a self-care, calm parenting class taught by a professional that really helps moms manage their stress and engage with their children more positively. And then PAC time stands for Parent and Child Together time. We provide the food and the materials for the parents to teach their children. Next slide. So what do we do to measure success? First of all, it's about goals. We have a database in which we track every participant's goals. So it's also parents and kids. Once the parents enroll, their children are enrolled in the other stuff that we do. And in this case, we have this grandmother who's been raising these children since they were infants. And she developed her reading skills through literacy volunteers. Her daughter, Alasia, just got accepted to St. Anne's Belfield School. I didn't want to say STAB, but I should have. But we took her over there for the tour. We helped her with the application. We helped walk her grandma through the financial aid forms. Rashard, the tall young man, is not as strong a student. He's in a special education program at another school, but he's learning woodworking through one of our volunteers, and he's making an end table, working on that every Tuesday. And then Aiden, the young man with the mask, he is enrolled in baseball, and we help provide support for getting that, making that happen. So our participants reaching goals. The next thing we measure is our parents thriving more. We have some evidence-based, nationally recognized inventories that help us know where a mother or a father is in their life. How are they struggling? What's their well-being? And you can see some of the examples there. I have had a dentist appointment in the last 12 months. Well, that's an important thing. And so we don't want to just sort of be isolated in the types of things we care about, because we know at the end of the day, the moms are going home with these issues, and we're there to help them during that 16-week period. Next slide. Are parents and students more self-sufficient? We have another inventory that has a score of 100, and if you get 100, it means you're 100% self-sufficient. We have people coming in at 65% self-sufficient around those various domains. And at intake, Nikki had a 67, and at outtake, she had an 80. In 16 weeks, she had built skills, raised her credit score, and raised her morale, which is a really big piece of this. Next slide. Power School, any parent in here knows you gotta track grades in Power School. Sorry, it's the way it goes. And we have kids who have a range, right? So 83% as a high, and 57% as a low. So we have kids along that spectrum, and we're helping them improve their grades. You're gonna give me a sign, right? Somebody, okay, I haven't gotten to 5 minutes yet? Okay. And then our students growing more confident. Oh, there you are. Oh, sorry, how long have you been holding that up? Okay. You know, half the issue with kids is their confidence and sense of competence, and can I go ask for help? It's not just about intelligence and accuracy on a test. It's about how I feel as a student. And so that's what our pathway coaches do for students, help them develop that sense of confidence, and we want those scores to go up as well. Next slide. Why does all this matter? It's because we take a holistic view of how a person addresses their needs. And I call this map a thriving map. It indicates everything we all need in life. And if you take one of those things away, you're thrown for a loop, right? Just take away childcare as an example, right? But we have people who don't have childcare, they don't have transportation, and they don't have family support. So it's really tough for those people to reach their goals without some help. Next slide. How will we use $20,000? You can pretty much bet on the fact that 75% of it is going to go right into the hands of the people that we serve. The other $5,000 will cover some of these other costs that we incur, like meals and supplies, paying our coaches and our consultants. The young lady at the bottom, Ashley, paid down debt and used funds during a Christmas layoff. I think it's very practical, access to capital that a lot of people just don't have. The other way we do it is to pay my wonderful staff, super competent folks. Last slide. Okay, you can go to more stories on our website, which is up there for you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mary. We're open for questions.
The question is, why 16 weeks and not longer? So our team did training with the National Center for Families Learning, and their recommendation is 32 weeks. But we had never seen parents do anything for 16 weeks. And so we felt like it would be too much of a stretch to ask for that. Now that we've piloted, I mean, this program's only a year and a half old. Now that we've piloted and we've actually had parents say, I wish I could do it longer, then we know going forward we might be able to do that. But our goal right now is to serve more to get the program going so that we can assess what needs to change. But I think it's a long-term goal. I mean, we just talked about it the other day.
Yes, Mary Beth.
How do people find out about it?
The question is, how do people find out about us? That's a great question. So we're place-based right now, serving a single footprint in downtown Charlottesville. And so we are on the ground, knocking on doors, handing out popsicles, standing at the bus stop, giving out flyers. I mean, people know us because we're present in the community, and we also use social media. Yes.
How do people contribute?
How do people contribute? I'm sorry, could you expound on that?
How do people contribute to your organization?
Donation-wise? Yes, okay, so we have our normal solicitations that we send out. We have an online giving platform, and we have a luncheon once a year where we receive funding. Most of our funding is private individuals, and we do receive a little bit of money from the city of Charlottesville.
Do your parents self-select or do you select?
Great question. Do parents self-select or do we select? So we have an application process, and the parents have to answer some really good quality questions that Dawn has thought through about that sort of inform whether or not they're ready. Not everybody's ready. They're not in a position in their life where they can really focus and concentrate and meet an obligation 3 hours a week for 16 weeks. Like, it's a lot for a single mom in particular. And so we sort of choose from those applicants. And we haven't had tons. We had like 10 applicants last time. We accepted 6. But we're getting ready to open up to the rest of the city. Like, that's a new secret. We're going to expand and make this program available to the rest of the city. So we'll get more applicants, better quality applicants.
Okay, we have time for one more. Yes.
You've talked a lot about moms and even mentioned a grandma. Do you also service families that have dad or a single parent dad?
Yes, we've had one dad, a single dad raising 4 kids in one of our other programs, and we have a dad and a mom in the same family in that same other program, but not in Dream Builders. But men are eligible, right? So we don't, but just generally, most of the people we serve are single moms.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary, for a great presentation on City of Promise. Okay, up next are the founders, Jenny and Eddie Brown, for giving words.
Good evening, and we really thank you for having us and allowing us to come and share with you what we are trying to do in our community. I'm Jenny Brown, and this is my husband, Eddie Brown, and we started Giving Words about 5 years ago, really based on just the experiences that we had. I am a 4-generation child of single parents and then became a single parent. And so I firsthand both knew of some of the pitfalls that came along with single parenting, but then also I was really blessed with a lot of resources, both through family and community, that made my job a lot less difficult, even though it still was difficult. And then my husband's mother was actually she was a child of a single parent, and so we both started this organization just based out of the heart for single mothers and their children.
And then one of our main goals, and I was also a single parent as well, and so I kind of went through the different gaps. I lost my house, I lost my car, had to borrow a car from my parents, and so I experienced those gaps. And so when Jenny and I met, a lot was restored for us and our kids. We've got 4 kids, 2 each, and so a lot was restored through that process, and then Giving Words was created out of that. And so really what we want to do is we want to give words of hope and hands that help, and so we want to be very practical with what we do. And one of the things that went to the top of the list is car repair. So we really want to work with that transportation piece, which is one of the main pillars out of the 8 that need to be addressed. And for about 10 years, we weren't always able to afford to put our cars in the shop, so I repaired them in the driveway, a gravel driveway. And My upgraded garage was a horse stall mat, because when you lay a blanket out, you still feel the gravel. And then also with the horse stall mat, when you're working in the rain, water runs under it. But that gave me the experience. And so what happened with our older daughters, they were teenagers. Their friends became single moms, and we began to repair these cars at our house. And so that's why we focus on that transportation piece. And then the most important piece we do is the community piece. I know as a single parent that I felt ashamed. I felt like I failed my parents. I felt like I failed my kids. I felt like I even failed my ex-wife. And it was very difficult to ask for help. And so a lot of single moms are kind of under the surface. And so if we can be a safe organization for them to come to get a yes, because they get no so many times, we can be that wagon wheel where we branch out with other nonprofits where they can come to us and we can take care of what we specialize in, which is the car repair, and then we can branch out to the City of Promise. You know, we can send them to the She Shelter, and we can send them to those other organizations that are partner organizations that can take care of the other 8 pillars. And so that's why we focused on being just doing transportation very well. And we partner with CTE programs. So we're building character and empathy in our students, which we can't buy with money. And then we're also, we bring the mothers into the school system so the students actually see that process. And usually out of 3 to 5 students, we have 2 or 3 that are in tiers. And that's an 11th, 12th grade year. And so that's a big movement in their life for their future. When they watch this process, they put forth this work for 2 or 3 weeks, and this mom and child come in and get this car. And you can move to the next slide.
So generally, we serve single mothers and their children who fall between the poverty line and the survival budget line. So if you're not aware of ALICE, assets limited, income restrained, and I don't remember what the E stands for, but that's enough of the information for you. It's about double what the poverty line is. So just because somebody gets over the poverty line and can't receive services from the government doesn't mean that they have enough money to make it. And for example, a single mother of 2 kids, that line is about $40,000. And by the way, that's also about the beginning teacher salary. So even women with education sometimes fall into our area. We certainly will help mothers who fall even below the poverty line, because we also know that the money isn't enough. We serve primarily right now Orange, Louisa, and Albemarle counties and the city of Charlottesville, but we do have other moms in other counties and even actually in other states when we have had the opportunity and the funding to help them. We do primarily take care of cars, and we do that because that was where the need was, but we have actually set up our organization in such a way that our computer program can be tailored to what that particular community needs. So if the primary need is childcare in Roanoke, because Roanoke has a good transportation system, and Roanoke starts giving words, then they would be able to address the childcare needs instead of the car needs if that was what was happening. But we also are really committed to these women just enjoying being with their children and filling in enough gaps that they can stop and rest and say, I like my kids and I want to play and I want to have fun. And so we have provided Christmas, we have Thanksgiving meals, washers, dryers, and all the other things that are up there. And we really have encouraged our mothers to just call us when they have a need. We have a process that they go through. They have an intake form that they fill out the first time they get services. We have care team mothers that talk to them and kind of keep up with them on a regular basis. And it's Eddie's turn.
So with the $20,000, we're looking at 37 repairs, and that's for single moms at various places. To give you an example, here in Charlottesville, Airport Road, Auto Center is one of our partners, Carter Myers Automotive, Seville Classic Cars is also a partner as well, and we're continuing to build those out, and we want to increase those partnerships. And in Louisa, we have consignment shops, windshield shops. If you think about a single mom, rock slings up, hits a windshield, she's got liability. When inspection comes around, she fails inspection, and at that point, she's got a court date. And so it's kind of a cascade of events. And so Virginia Glass has partnered with us, and we've gotten 6 or 7 windshields for free. We'll also do, strengthen our partnerships we currently have, and then we'll do a summer retreat. We did that last year, and we're able to bring our moms in together, swimming pool, offer them childcare. They were able to actually relax, which is something that they don't get to do often. And so that was really special for us. And then we'll just continue to develop our software. Pretty much Giving Words is developed over the last 4 years, one mom at a time, with whatever her needs were, and then we adjust it internally for that need.
With our partnerships, we reduce our costs and services by about 40%. A lot of these organizations and partnerships that we have, they then give their services free or at a reduced cost. And we consider advancement in a number of areas, because depending on what the mother comes in with, then that's where we measure. For example, there's been some who just who are maintaining sobriety at the moment, and that they had a difficult time where they relied on drugs and they've gotten off, and now they need that kind of support. For others, it's job advancement. For others, it's learning how to take care of their car and maintaining it properly. So it really just depends. Because we keep it community focused, it really depends on the mother. We do have care team moms. We have women who have volunteered who are willing to just keep in touch with about 3 to 5 moms who they just call and ask, what are the problems you're having? How can I help you? Sometimes we get them hooked up with things like counseling. And we even do follow-up interviews so we can find out how we can do things better. And so we have some mom stories here. I teach at the local high school in Louisa County, and so a lot of my moms are actually my former students, and it's a real blessing to know that I first taught them how to write their resume, and now I'm going to get them to write their resume. But this is particularly one young lady who called me up and said, I need help right now. And serendipity or God's providence or whatever you want to call it, I was actually driving by the place she needed me. And so I was able to just pull in and walk her through a panic attack and help her do what she needed to do, which was as simple as handing my driver's license over so that they would give her her medication because she didn't have it with her. But she's also someone that we have repaired her car, provided Christmas and various things for her children.
This mom also actually donated a car to us that we actually repaired for her because she moved forward and was able to purchase a vehicle. So she donated that car back to us, and we've actually had 3 moms donate cars to us that we then gave away to other single moms. And so that's another way that we can measure it. And this mom here, her son has special needs, and she came to us. We were actually able to repair her car. And he was in the CTE program, and we're able to gift him a Craftsman tool set to further his education. And so we also want to foster what they're dreaming about, and he always wanted to work on cars.
And then you can read about our last mom on the last slide, and we don't have to tell you. You can go ahead to the next one too. So here's the contact information if you want to look at the slide, when you look at the slides, and then the last thing is the video that doesn't work anyway. And you are welcome to check out that video. We actually met some people, and he was courageous enough to ask them to write a song for us, and so they did. And so you'll get to hear our song. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and the question is, what does car insurance become an obstacle within your program?
It very well comes into play a lot. And kind of what we do is we kind of assess that, and then we help with that as well, like whether it's the first month or whatever that mom needs to move forward. And then one of our intake processes that we ask is, do you have car insurance? Is the car registered in your name? So we do a lot of pre-qual stuff because it could be her brother's car or somebody else's car, so we get that registration. We also find out where she's on insurance because I could repair a car literally for free and put her in a worse situation than she was in before she met me, because if she gets pulled over without insurance, she's going to go under SR. And so I've actually put this mom in a worse position than she was before she even met me. So that's some of those qualifying things we ask, and then we help with that insurance if it's necessary.
Another question? Yes.
How is the scarcity of used cars right now affected?
Yeah, it's a really, it's a large challenge right now. And so we've just been working through that. We've got some donors, and we're seeing repairs go up because people aren't, you can't buy a car, so they're wanting to repair those cars. And so it's fluctuated as far as the donor base and things like that, but just awareness. And then I've got donors that's given us 3 cars. Like, they gave us a car, and then they transitioned into another car, and they gave us another car. So we've had donors that's given us, 3 cars from one donor, so that helps.
Yes.
How are you currently funding your organization? Help me understand your organization.
Sure.
Folks work for it? Do people donate money?
Sure.
It's the first I've heard of it, so I'd be interested.
Sure.
to know.
So we started about 5 years ago. Through the first 2 years, we were kind of coming to market, and it started at the house in our driveway. We partnered with the CTA. We 501c3. My company donated 98% of the funding for the first year, and then into our second year, we got grants, and then we got COVID. So we didn't go to market because I didn't want to go speak in churches and businesses when everybody was struggling to try to extract money for our program. So we're about 80% grant-based. And that got us through COVID, and then now we're starting to go, like, I had printed pamphlets and tons of stuff to go to market and held all that stuff back just because of where we were as a society. So about 80% grant-based, and then we've got social media. People can go to the website, donate from the website, and things like that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have one question. How many partnerships do you have in the community?
We have 63. Yeah, and to give you an idea of, like, for instance, Charlottesville, once we have volunteers here, and we're always looking at how we can take little and make much. So in Louisa, we have a partnership with a consignment shop where I set a Giving Words account up. Women can go donate clothes to the Giving Words account. When those clothes sell, they fund my account, and then our moms can go shop there for free. And so that's a non-cost to Giving Words, community supported. And, we've had moms that had a court date. The next day called us, and we actually gave her shoes, slacks, the full outfit for court with less than a 12-hour notice. And so those things like that are important to be able to shift the needle.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes. Our next finalist is Her Sports with Jessica Carter, who is the founder and executive director.
This is our first presentation, and so I feel that in order to win the championship, I brought my crew with me. They were gonna, they're gonna help me along the way to ease my anxiety. I am Jessica Carter. I'm the founder of Her Sports. Thank you, team, for coming. Thank you for having us here and choosing us as a finalist. Thank you, Mary. I gotta shut you out. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. So Her Sports means hustle to earn respect. It was founded in 2020 amidst COVID, and I will allow my girls to read some of the slides.
It's our mission to use sports as a blueprint for girls to succeed in life by providing a holistic experience that will facilitate positive youth development.
Next slide.
With our programming, specifically launching the summer academics, we look to address the disparities that will overcome obstacles and break down barriers that prevent minority girls and those residing in marginalized communities the access to resources, programming, and opportunities to play. Some of the problems we face are social media, addiction, unhealthy habits, truancy, and self-esteem challenges. The solutions to these problems are to increase sports engagement, exposure to meaningful family relationships, and community building around sports.
Her Sport strongly believes that empowerment plus education will increase engagement. Since launching in 2020,
Next slide. Oh, sorry.
Since launching in 2020, we have had 9 programs, 175 participants, and over 75% of the girls have participated in more than one program.
And these are a couple pictures, some slight pictures. You can tell the diversity that we have. The upper corner, they're in elementary school. The lower, they're in middle, and those are my high school girls. Next slide. Before I hop into the meaning and the purpose for our summer academy, I just want to give you all 2 statistics. 1 out of 4 girls drop out of sports by age 14. Half of that are minority girls or living in marginalized communities. Girls living in these communities are more at risk to health issues such as heart disease and diabetes. This statistic comes from Women's Sports Foundation. The next statistic is school-aged children spend about 80% of their waking hours outside of school. On average, they spend 9 hours on social media, maybe more, to be honest, maybe more. Effective out-of-school programs provide a significant return on investment, with every $1 invested saving at least $3 through increasing youth's earning potential, improving their performance at school, and reducing crime and juvenile delinquency. That comes from youth.gov. The purpose for Her Sports Academy is dedicated to integrate social, emotional, and cognitive skill building, along with physical activity that will be used to model, develop, and empower healthy habits. We will have 2 academies. The first is Level Up Academy, which is for 10th and 12th graders. The second is Live It Up Academy, which is for 6th through 9th graders. And it will start on June 21st. It will last for 4.5 weeks every Tuesday and Thursday. Half of the time will be focused on life skill training, which we will be incorporating a evidence-based curriculum called BOTFIN Life Skills Training. And with this, we have partnered with several organizations. 2, Wild Rock and She, as well as FLAG, which is Fight Like a Girl. They will be incorporating self-defense along with Wartime Fitness and Love No Ego. We've had confirmation from several other organizations that will be coming to make sure that our objectives are being met. Woo. Good gracious, my mouth is dry and everything. I know this from the back of my hand, but I'm just making sure I don't miss anything. So our timeline and how we will actually use the money and the importance of using the money, we'll be launching this summer. It's our first program, so it's a pilot. But to be quite honest with you all, we have actually been running programs just like this, but we're trying to put it all in one for the out-of-school time and actually trying to dedicate it to 75% of our minority girls. So summer 22, this is the launch, and then in the fall, we look to do our evaluations, to partner with the schools as well as with the parents as well to see how the impact made. That means like whether they went to school, they participated in other sporting activities, their academic performance has been increased, as well as, I forgot what I was about to say, sorry. As well as making sure that they are improving their grades in PE, because that is a huge issue. And we look to relaunch, trying to reconvene summer 23, and then our hopes is to do a year-round program. How many minutes I got? 1 minute? Oh, so the way we're going to evaluate, the way we're evaluating is pre and post evaluations. We're going to partner with the schools to get education, talk to their parents about that. Also with observation of whether they have improved with the confidence and if they're actually participating in sports. Next slide. So the way we're going to be utilizing our money right now, it costs $6,000 to run 2 academies. We look to use this for scholarships, partner fees. In order for them to come, we have to pay them. We look to pay our volunteers, which, you know, food, shirts, and also some type of gift card because gas is such a high need right now. Academy supplies, we have to have some type of transportation, so we have $25,000 for that, $2,500 for that, and to pay our venue and for prep for the academy next year, and we're utilizing the rest for just in case emergency. Some girls don't have athletic shoes, some they don't have clothing, and we look to use that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was great. Jessica, you have some very budding public speakers here, so yes, yes. Nice job. We'll open it up for questions. So the question is, do you have a connection with some of the athletic students at UVA, since there's so many sports over at the university?
Absolutely. They actually have volunteered for a lot of our programs, but for the older girls, they can't because of the NCAA regulate. I mean, it's against the NCAA rules. But we are partnered with UVA.
Great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Tell us something about you that brought you to start
Them. I'm a native of Charlottesville. I play sports. Sports is like my blueprint to success, as I would say, and I just seen the drop-off rate. I've seen those who actually dropped out of sports. They've actually, some dropped out of school, some led to crimes in the community, and I can speak to that because a lot of them, I've actually worked with through working with the schools, so that's the reason why, and this is my passion. I think sports is the way to go. It's for health and wellness.
Any other questions? Yes, Shannon.
I'm curious about the array of sports.
Yes, so we've had basketball, soccer, volleyball, lacrosse, field hockey, football, and rugby. Yeah. But I'm a basketball coach, so that's why I have other people do their job.
So I have one quick question. With all those sports, sometimes that equipment can be pretty expensive. How do you fund that?
So luckily, we've had people donate. We have a lot of donations through the community, or those who come to actually lead the sessions, they bring their own equipment. We just started, so if y'all have any equipment, we'd love to take it. I think I do better with questions in the presentation.
Oh, okay. Sorry, we're out of time for questions, but thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, our next finalist is Reclaimed Hope Initiative with Bettina Stevens, who is the founder and executive director.
Good evening, everyone. It's such an honor to be here, and I really appreciate you all coming to hear about our programming and just hear about what we're doing in the community. My name is Bettina Stevens, and I'm the founder and executive director of Reclaimed Hope Initiative. You can go to the next slide. I think we can all agree that parenting is the hardest job in the entire world. It requires daily demands of physical, emotional, and mental health. And for us to be healthy, that means that we can parent our kids better, right? And when we're not healthy, we see that struggle. Our organization was founded in 2018 as a result of my own struggle. What we see when we have foster, adoptive, or special needs children in a family is that level of stress and that level of need increases by more than double. So as these children need support and resources, so do these parents. And what we are seeing time and time again is that if parents don't have the support and resources they need, there's no way that they're able to care for the complex needs of their children. So not only does this increase stress, mental health needs, as well as financial instability, but we have seen that 9 in 10 parents who foster or adopt or who are parenting a child with a disability report a significant increase in stress, isolation, and essentially leading to burnout. So this was my story. In 2018, my husband and I hit rock bottom as we were managing the needs of our 3 adopted children, one of whom has autism and severe PTSD. So in our home, we were managing crisis after crisis through hallucinations, delusions, significant trauma triggers that left us homebound for almost 2 years. We couldn't access the community. We lost friends. We have no family in town. And in that desperation, I said, surely there is something in the community that can make a difference for us. Surely there's something that we can go to that will link arms with us and figure out how to do this again tomorrow. And what I found the next day was there wasn't. The option was we stay in crisis in our own home or we send our son away. And neither of those were options that we wanted to take. So in the midst of this, I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start this thing, and I'm going to create a space where families can come together and feel seen and heard, where we can talk through this journey, and we can figure out how to do this together one day at a time. So in the midst of that, we launched Reclaimed Hope Initiative with our mission to strengthen and empower foster, adoptive, and special needs families, and with this large vision to create safe environments where families can heal and stay together. Next slide. Thrive is our cornerstone program, and it's where the majority of families enter into our program. It's the beauty of Thrive is that we have no true eligibility requirements in terms of how to serve that family. So they could be a foster or adoptive family, or they could be a family parenting a child with complex care needs. And regardless of what they're walking in with, we're able to kind of take that intake, get a snapshot of their family needs, and then take those next steps together. Our Thrive support group is our bread and butter of our Thrive program. It's what I started with in 2018 with just 6 families out of my home. We more than quadrupled in size in 9 months, and in the last 3 years, we've grown 900%, serving almost 75 families in the Charlottesville area. So if that doesn't tell you the gap that was missing, families keep bringing more families. The goal of Thrive is to not only help parents better care for themselves and for their families, but also to create safe environments where kids can see other families that look like them and really boost their own self-esteem for those kids who have experienced significant trauma or are walking through complex medical needs where the hospital is their second home. We meet 2 times a month, and the biggest component of Thrive is our childcare. So one of the biggest barriers to my husband and I leaving our home in 2 years was that we had no safe, competent other adult to help watch our kids. And with the levels of safety that they needed, we didn't know what else to do, and we didn't know where else to turn. So what I started doing was just compiling this group of caregivers, and we started training them in sexual abuse management and how to recognize signs of sexual abuse, in trauma-competent care, in safety and de-escalation strategies, so that these kids could have a therapeutic environment to come to, but parents also could know their kids are safe wherever they are. So the best part of our support group is that we provide skilled, competent child care providers, so parents can come, but also drop off their kids for 2 whole hours and have just a time and space to share the ups and downs of this journey. As a foster and adoptive parent myself, as a mom of a child with special needs, I'm also a trained adoption competent caregiver, and I run these groups myself. So I meet every family that comes through our door. I run 6 support groups a month in total, 2 for parents, parenting children with disabilities, and 2 for foster and adoption. And we typically go through the topics listed in a semester-based area. Next slide. I'm just going to read this quick quote that's from a mom. The porcupine is just my favorite graphic, so I'm going to include it for your smile. But this is from a mom that just joined our program about a year ago. She says, "Thrive has been great for us to connect with parents who get it. A place where we can be real and have our stories witnessed in a community, as well as give our child safe access to a fun space with peers who have some shared experiences. A place where she isn't the odd one out. It is a great relief knowing that moving forward we have a pool of wisdom and resources to tap into when we or our child needs support. I'm not sure how we would have been able to survive as a family without the help of RHI this last year." Next slide. The second component of our Thrive program is in-home respite. So what we were seeing with families like what I was walking through is that inability to find competent caregivers, but then also that ability, like, how do my husband and I stay connected? How do we fuel our marriage, right? The statistic is 70% of parents managing these children end in divorce. And so what we started doing was pulling these families who are experiencing illness, job loss, or other mental health or medical hardship, and putting caregivers in their home on a weekly basis so that parents had a built-in capacity to be able to rest, recharge, and reconnect with other people in their community. All of our in-home respite is on a sliding scale fee, and we find it provides structure, predictability, and routine to the family, which ultimately decreases their stress and mental health load, and we see this burst of their ability to reconnect and actually feel human again. Next slide. So what makes Thrive different? Obviously, we're a community of families with shared experience, and because I have lived experience, what we see is this really vulnerable option for families to come in and just share what they're walking through in the hardest of ways. Obviously, skilled childcare is a huge part of what we do. I recently had the local foster care agencies reach out to me and say, why do people attend your support groups and not ours? And the three things they said were lived experience on my end, parent-led interactions, professional childcare, their kids felt safe in our environment, and intentional meals. So we have a 2-hour gap for our support groups so that we can sit and eat for 45 minutes to an hour and just connect over a really home-cooked, wonderful meal. And then the second hour is education and discussion. So it really becomes this community where families can meet other families and really create these support networks within their own environment outside of our support groups as well. So in terms of, you can go to the next slide, impact. So we poll our families annually, and we only poll the families who attend a minimum of 50% of our support groups in the year. And so this was our statistics from 2021, but in terms of helping parents care for themselves, 100% said they improved feelings of isolation, 73% said they reduced stress, 93% had greater self-esteem, and 90% said they can better manage their personal needs. Next slide. In terms of helping parents care for their families, 70% said they improved confidence caring for their child, 80% said they improved coping skills, 71% said they improved their ability to manage complex care needs, and 50% said it helped prevent family separation. So how do we make this work? We're a young organization, so just 4 years old, but we definitely maintain diversified revenue streams, and we really work hard to be a good steward of any dollar that comes in the door. So about 30% of our funding is from grants, 30% is from earned income, 17% is from individual donors, and then we also have kind of miscellaneous things that bring in other revenues, such as partnerships with the city and the county through the Department of Social Services or other organizations that refer and are able to provide grant funding so that we can serve their families in our program. Additionally, in the fall, we hired our Assistant Director of Family Support Services, so she's been critical to our operations, specifically around the Thrive program, able to really create and cultivate a community for our families, and then also really sustain our programming on a larger scale. A lot of what we plan to do with the $20,000 is really converting a lot of our contract caregivers to part-time employees. So a lot of our time and energy right now is interviewing, vetting, hiring caregivers, because that's so much of what we do to sustain our family program, and it takes a lot of time. So a lot of what we hope to do is not only convert their independent contracts to part-time employees, it will save us admin time, it will build trust and relationships, we can respond to more of that urgent crisis-based need when a family calls and said, I need someone here, but then also it can really increase the number of families we can serve. So if we have one caregiver doing weekly care part-time, we can serve 3 families with that one caregiver. So with that $20,000, we would increase the number of families served by about 25% in the next year. Okay, and then we always end with hope. So the story behind our name is, that's my family. The story behind our name is every family who walked in our door said, I feel so hopeless and I don't know how I'm going to do this again tomorrow. And so the vision was, how do we help families reclaim their hope? How do we get them to not just survive, but to thrive and feel like they can be a functioning family in the community? So that is the basis of where we came from and what we hope to do. Thank you.
A big thank you to Bettina. Open it up for questions. Yes.
I know that Thrive is the cornerstone of what you're talking about, but could you just briefly talk about some of the other things that Reclaimed Hope Initiative offers to the community?
Sure. So our 2 other main programs are RAMP, which stands for Racial Advocacy and Mentorship Program. So it's specifically designed for foster and adoptive families who are parenting a child of color. So it's a 2-part educational program for white parents, how to figure this out and do it well. And then the flip side of that is we pair each of these children with a same race, same gender mentor so that they can really earn racial pride and racial identity throughout the community and understand what that looks like. So we're sharing the load between parent and child instead of the child bearing the brunt of that burden. And then our 3rd cornerstone program is Camp Hope, which is a special needs camp for children ages 4 to 12, managing mental health needs, significant trauma, behavioral health, or intellectual disability.
Any other questions? Oh, yes, back.
You mentioned that your survey results were from parents who had participated in 50% or more of your programming. How are you capturing information, voices, stories of those parents who fall below that mark?
Yeah, great question. I mean, all of these families I have personal relationships with, so there's constant rapport, constant communication, even in the groups, but we have essentially constant feedback in terms of whether it could be anonymous or not. But I do have, often my board will help do some of that where families can share more information. But the bulk of it is like if we've had a family who's just kind of joined the program and they've only maybe done 25% of our groups, a lot of times I meet with them pre them joining the group and post joining the group and just get a feel for where they feel like their markers have gone in terms of their self-esteem or confidence, or where they feel like they need a little bit more help or what we could do better to support them. Yeah.
One more question. Yes.
I'm just curious what you're finding in terms of retaining the caregivers in this environment that's so difficult to retain any talent.
Yeah.
What types of strategies you have around that?
Yeah, for sure. I tell our caregivers that I care just as much about them as I do of the families we serve. So we have essentially a minimum requirement for caregivers that kind of spreads it out. So their only minimum requirement is 1 support group a month and 1 respite night per quarter. So they can engage in that minimum, but kind of get to know the families, get to know the kids. But then they can engage in as much as they want past that. So what we see is people who are really wanting to do more, they do tons of hours and then are able to scale back as needed. But because we have such a large independent contractor base, the load is really shared among all of them, and they really get to know all of our families in an individual way. So it doesn't feel quite like it's just on a few people. It's really spread out among quite a few. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Our last finalist is Shelter for Help and Emergency, and Sarah Ellis.
Thank you so much, and what an amazing group of organizations and people doing work in this community. It's I'm always blown away by how much amazing work is being done in this community, and really the breadth of support for many of our organizations that certainly at the shelter we've enjoyed. Oh, sorry. Is that any better for you? Yes. Okay, sorry. We've certainly enjoyed the support of the community, and we very much appreciate that. So my name's Sarah Ellis, and I am here for the Shelter for Help in Emergency, which I think, hopefully, a good number of you here know about and know what we do. We've been around 43 years in the community, so we're a well-established agency. You know, much has changed with domestic violence over the years. In many ways, we talk about it now. 40 years ago, we weren't talking about it. Nobody was speaking about it. Now it's spoken about, and it's spoken about in all arenas, but we still don't speak about it enough. We still have to get word out there about what's going on. The issue itself hasn't changed. It's still very much as it always has been. And it's always been an area where women experience more domestic violence than men, but in recent years we certainly started talking more about men who are experiencing domestic violence. So although I often refer to women and children who we do serve men as well, although in much smaller numbers. So a community awareness is really where we need to develop a lot of our outreach and get our word out there. It's still true that a lot of our community don't know about us and don't know what we do. And one of those problems is that our shelter is confidential, and you can't know where we are, so it's not like we can be seen in the street in that way. We do have a public office, of course, where you can come and talk to staff and meet us. We're a small staff. We have 15 full-time staff and 6 part-time, and we are supported by a wonderful group of volunteers, and there are some of those in the audience. You know who you are. I'm not going to point you out, but we couldn't do it without you. We're a 24-hour operation, 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. And what we try to offer to victims of domestic violence is safety, support, and hope. Our programs are either residential in nature, hence the name shelter. Maybe the next slide for our services. I can't talk too much about services because I only have 5 minutes, and I can easily spend 2 hours talking about all of the services. So we have a shelter, we have a residential program where all of these services are available. They're also available to people who don't need or want to come into the residential programs. So you can have all of these services and not have to be in the shelter. A lot of people don't know that. They think we're only a shelter, but we're both shelter and outside in the community. Every year we provide shelter to around about 200 individuals in our residential program, and that 100 of those or so are children. So we see a lot of children through our shelter. We give around about 5,000 nights of safe shelter every year. We have a wonderful, and those volunteers who are here who've been to the shelter will tell you that we have a wonderful purpose-built building which we raised funds for. So families who are coming to us in crisis come to a clean, warm, hospitable place. They're not coming to a difficult and dirty environment, which I think is what a lot of people think of when they think of shelters, but this is not like that. This is a home for our people. So we offer these comprehensive services because everybody is different. Everybody needs something different who comes to us. And really, our case managers will tailor our services to help what every individual needs. It might be housing, it might be, I'm looking at the number 5 gone up, so I've already talked too much. It might be childcare, it might be healthcare. Next slide. We're also out in the community, as I say, trying to get the word out, trying to educate the community. We partner with a good number of agencies, organizations, and people who are here tonight. So thank you to our partners here tonight. We couldn't do what we do for our clients alone. We have to use the resources in the community. So we're there to really provide a safe space for them so that they can reach out for the resources we have. We work with the police, we work with healthcare, we work with schools, employment agencies, social services, the courts, immigration lawyers, food banks, and we have a wonderful, strong prevention program which works with Jessica's agency, with Alex, working with children and youth, hoping to, as it says, prevent this from happening at the beginning. We've been around a long time, so we do have a budget. As I say, we operate a residential facility. That's a 25-bed residential facility. It's probably a little hard for you to see those numbers up there, and I even have to put my glasses on now. But our budget is around about $1.5 million a year. We receive state and federal grants. 44% of our funding is from state and federal grants. 21% is local government, that's Charlottesville and the surrounding counties. And 35% of our funding comes from donations. So what can you help us with? Oh gosh. So here we are, and that first one, emergency hotel accommodation, and this is all about COVID. COVID affected everybody. We never shut, we kept going. We had to figure out overnight, like many people did, how to operate. We were like, how on earth do we have people coming into our shelter and keeping them healthy? So we started using some hotel accommodations. We used a lot of them. So we do have people coming into the residential, but we're probably only at 50% capacity in our residential program because of having to keep enough distance for people and safety. So we have to support that through hotel accommodations, which is why that's such a large number. And of course, because nobody ever knew this was coming, it was never put in our budget. So it's a number that we have to fill. Client emergency needs, any relocation, oftentimes. So we will send somebody wherever they need to go if they need help with that. We send them all over the country. We send them out of the country if they need that. And we need funds for that. Bus, train, plane, car, whatever it might be. Outreach and community education, maintaining our website, social media. We use social media like everybody does now a lot. Languages, printing everything in many different languages, and getting our materials developed, printed materials. And last but certainly not least, volunteer training. Our volunteers have to go through 40 hours of training, which is asking a great deal of everybody. That's the volunteers who do work in our programs. We couldn't do it without them, but they're there to answer our hotline and to help people in the residential. They're enormously well-trained people. They're amazing. We couldn't do it without them, and it costs quite a bit of money to train them. I think I've run out of time.
Thank you, Sarah. Questions? You must have covered all of the facts and figures. Yes, Marjorie. The question is, what is the age range?
Yeah. 0 to, I don't know, have we had somebody older than 80? Maybe. Anything. Typically, I would say it falls between the 18 and 35 is our most common range. But yes, we have women bringing babies in, school-age children, and we serve anybody throughout their life.
Gwen?
I would think also that COVID brought upon us a lot more domestic violence. Can you speak about that?
It did indeed, yes. And what I will say is the terrifying thing at the beginning of COVID, when we all went into shutdown, was the silence. And it scared us all, because we knew not only was that problem not going away, but now she was locked in the house with him, and she couldn't get out, and she probably couldn't reach us for help. So we were very scared for the first few months, and then the phone started ringing. And our hotline calls, I would say about 3 months into the pandemic, our hotline calls went up. Some months it went up 90%, but overall we went up about 65% in calls for help. Yeah.
Yes, Mary.
How do you manage meals at the shelter?
We have a kitchen, and the residents are at liberty to cook for themselves. We don't prepare food for them. So we have our shelter, and you can actually go on our website now and see a video tour of our shelter, an inside tour, so which I recommend you do because I'm proud of it. It's a lovely place. But we have good cooking facilities for everybody. We do provide basic needs for everybody when they come in, so some very basic food needs while they're there. That's been an added cost with our hotels, because somebody living in a hotel, we've got to give them things that they can prepare in a hotel room with a microwave. That took our food costs up enormously. But yes, people cook for themselves.
Yes.
How long will people stay?
Anything from a day up to 6 weeks. And that's not very long for somebody to get on their feet. But we're an emergency shelter. We never stop giving them services if they want it. What the purpose of them coming into the shelter is to get safety, to get peace, to have time to think without being harassed and abused, and to have the services of our case managers who sit down with them and say, what do you need? And let's see how we get it for you. So we try within that 6 weeks to come up with a plan. The biggest hurdle, which won't shock anybody, is housing. It is a huge challenge, and we do what we can.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great presentations. You have made Women United's members' lives for the next couple of weeks very, very difficult because we're going to have to go through a voting process, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So I have just a few quick more thank yous. I wanted to thank Connie Horan, who was last year's chair of the Grants Committee. She's been my mentor. Many of you probably know she and her family relocated to Wilmington, North Carolina in April of 2021, and she graciously agreed to stay on as our liaison this year and made it to several of our in-person meetings. So a big shout out to Connie for all of her help and assistance. Also want to thank Joan Forrest and her Program and Events Committee for finding this wonderful venue, providing our food and our drink this evening, and making all the arrangements. To Mary Beth Haynes and her Communications Committee for all the texts and emails that were sent out and will be sent out over the next couple of weeks about voting. And to Gwen and Jim for doing the videotape tonight so that we can get this posted onto our website so the members that couldn't make it here this evening will be able to hear these wonderful presentations. And last but not least, I want to thank Elaine Atrich and her membership committee, because if they hadn't had a very successful 2022 campaign, we wouldn't be able to give out two $20,000 grant awards this year. And one more public relations announcement here. Our winners will be announced at our luncheon on October 18th. It'll be at Farmington from 11:30 to 1:30. Our guest speaker is Jennifer Feist, who is a founding member of Women United and also the founder of the Dr. Lorna Breen Heroes Foundation, and she's going to talk about her experiences over the last couple years with COVID. Now I would like to introduce our closing speaker, who is Sherry Lewis. Sherry is the founder and managing partner of Lewis Law Offices here in Charlottesville, and she is a longtime member of Women United and also served on our grants committee, not this year, but in prior years I've served with her. So Sherry, it's all yours. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm standing between you and appetizers and more drinks, so it'll be brief and to the point. I just want to have, can we have a round of applause for all of these finalists? I'll tell you. This tonight is my favorite event of the entire year with Women United, as it is with, I know, many of you, because it gets to the core of what our mission is. And I am always amazed, just tonight is no exception, at what I learn about all of the creative impetus and energy going on in our community, how people create solutions to the needs that we have. It just continues to blow me away. And this evening, every year, is sort of the jolt in my arm, really, to realize what a blessed community we are. And these finalists are just great evidence of it. As a former member of the Grants Committee, I can tell you that just that sense of wonder permeates the entire process that the Grants Committee undergoes of reviewing, discussing, and then eliminating a first round and then a second round to deliver to you these 5 great organizations that you're looking at today. It's just a humbling but really energizing experience. And I encourage anybody who has not served on the Grants Committee. A member, Peppy Linden, looked at me and said, "You're hanging around this organization a lot. Why aren't you on the Grants Committee?" And I was sort of shamed into it, and it was one of the biggest blessings, that anybody ever shamed me into. So tonight, to our point, we're at this beautiful point, and I'm addressing members now, where the Grants Committee has done their job, reducing the dozens and dozens, 24 organization applications down to these last 5. The programming, communication, membership committees have all done their job. Thank you for bringing us here this evening into this moment and getting us through a pandemic, frankly, like nonprofits had to endure the last 2 years. And thank you to the grants applicants. All of those people have done their job. Now, members, it's time for us to do our job. So there should be, there's a slide. Voting will take place starting May 20th, 2 days from now, this Friday. All members will get an email. Voting is, of course, limited to people that are members. And voting will be open until June 2nd. Your job right now, they've done their job. Members, your job is to vote. And our goal up there, 100%, we want 100% of the members in Women United to vote, because it does make a difference. It is who is in the room, it is who is voting who determines the outcome of it. And we know that all 5 of these finalists deserve to get these 2 grants. We know that. But please vote, and that's our initiative from now on. We really want to get to 100%, so I deputize you, members in this room, go and call your friends who didn't make it tonight. I have one. She canceled on me at 3 o'clock. Quasi-legitimate reasons, but I could see it through it. It's okay. But she will get the email. She will have to study. She won't have the experience we had today, but she will have to study these finalists, and I will be in person at her office making sure she votes. So thanks again for the finalists. Please do your job on May 20th. And this concludes our program. Please stay and socialize and thank our grant finalists. Thank you, everyone.